Hi everyone, we are live for the book club. We'll just give it a few minutes for everybody to join. Starting to get some people joining in now. Great to have you. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so we're a couple of minutes early, but we'll just set up and we've got a technical thing that we need to solve, so we'll do that and get started in a minute. Loads of you joining at the moment, so great to have you on board. We've got a very special edition of the Book Club Live this week. We're going to be joined by three incredible mums who are going to review some books with us. So I can see a couple of you already here. We've got Slummy Single Mummy, so hello Jo, and Sparkles and Stretch Marks Hayley. So I'm going to invite you in now. Just waiting for one more as well. So Hayley, you should be in.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, and we'll just invite Jo as well. Hi, great to have you.
How are you? Are you okay?
Yes, good, thank you. Hello. Great to have you. We've got Sarah joining us as well in a moment, but I don't think she's quite on yet, so we'll just give her a couple of minutes. Oh, here she is. Hi, Sarah. We'll get you in. Just give me one sec. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's just give Sarah a moment. I'll do a quick intro. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Great to have you all. Thank you so much. Can we, we'll do some short introductions in a moment, but we'll just give people a few minutes to get started. Obviously, you all know me now because we've been speaking too much. I'm Jasleen. So we'll just, give people a few more minutes to get started. I'll do a quick sort of run through of how this Instagram Live is going to go, and then we'll go around and do some nice introductions. So, as I mentioned, we've got three incredible ladies here joining us today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We've got Hayley from Sparkles and Stretch Marks, Sarah from Little Boo, and Jo from Slummy Single Mummy. So thank you so much. These ladies have chosen a book set from our website, and they'll be giving it a sort of brief review and talking about it as well. Each of those book sets will be up for grabs, so somebody will win. If you like what Hayley's reviewing, you could win that. If you like what Jo's reviewing, you could win that. Or if you like what Sarah's reviewing, you could win that. Not only that, we need to listen out, guys, today for a special signal, because it's actually World Mental Health Day on Sunday, and our Instagram Live isn't, dedicated to that, but we wanted to do something nice. So we are going to give basically a one-time only £20 voucher. I don't know what the code is, but somebody needs to get it, listen out for it, be quick, and we'll hear sort of a signal. I'm hoping it's going to be a klaxon kind of sound and nothing else. And one person who's joining, listen out for the code, get onto our website, order something. It's basically first come, first serve. It's one-time only voucher. And get on there and get yourself something brilliant. So we'll just give a couple more minutes, everybody sort of joining still, so that's nice. And I think I've covered all of the sort of normal rules. Everybody's here now in terms of who's co-hosting with us, so again, thank you. Do you want to go around and introduce yourselves then? Hayley, do you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my name's Hayley. I am a blogger at sparklesandstretchmarks.com, and I have got three children. So they are 8, 6 and 5. And I actually home educate them. So books are a massive part of our life. So that's how I kind of know books to door. I've used the company for years. So, yeah.
And that's like fiction and non-fiction then, isn't it, really, for you? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I love how easy the site is to find, kind of differentiate between the two and to find what I'm looking for. It's really, really handy.
Great. Thank you. And over to you then, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a mum of 3 based in Norfolk. I am a parenting blogger at booruandtiggy2.com, as well as working for the NHS as part of my day job. So I kind of juggle the two. Books are a huge part of certainly my childhood and teenage years, and something that I've passed on to my children. So we dedicate certain times throughout the day to pick up a book and enjoy it. So yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a juggle trying to balance everything, isn't it? And over to you then, Jo.
Hi, I'm Jo. Bit croaky today, so please excuse me. Nothing catching, I promise. So I'm a mum of two daughters, and I write a parenting blog called Slummy Single Mummy. My children are actually not really even children anymore. They're 19 and 26. But I do also now have a 2-year-old grandson, baby Joey, and he absolutely loves books. Like, to the point he can't even actually speak yet, but he can do his alphabet and he can point to the different letters in books and things. Like, books are his life. He loves them.
Oh, I bet he's spoiled by you. That's so lovely. I know like Devon, my little one, he's 3. I'm trying to get him to do an Instagram live with me. But I think he will. So I buttered him up with some books. But yeah, it's just really nice, like the different kind of engagement that they do have, and it is really important. So it's really nice to have all of your different perspectives and the different age groups. So thank you. Right, we are going to get stuck in, but I'm going to do a bit of a quick fire round. So I have got some cheeky questions, nothing to catch you off guard, so don't worry, but I thought we'll just get things, warmed up, get going a little bit. I'll answer the questions as well, and if you guys, everybody who's attending and everybody who's watching, please feel free to drop your questions in the comment box, but be quick because it is a quick fire round, and just shout your answers out basically. So it's only 5 questions, hopefully a bit of fun just to get us going. Right, you ready?
Yeah.
We haven't got a countdown for this.
Fingers
on the buzzers. Okay, right. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Neither.
Tea. What do you have then instead, Sarah?
Squash. I'm really boring.
Yeah. I sit down with a cup of tea and I've got to get my tea and my cake and my book, and then I'm ready to go. Okay. Favourite author? This could be yours or children's, don't mind.
I've absolutely been obsessed with the Adrian Mole series since I was young, and I read them over and over, and I feel like I get more and more of the references every time. She's such a smart, witty writer. Absolutely love her. Loved her.
Oh, great. Hayley?
I find that really hard to answer as an adult. There's too much choice. I cannot narrow it down to one. I would have to say children's author. Mine was Roald Dahl. I absolutely adored Roald Dahl books.
Yeah. And what about you, Sarah?
As a child, it would be Jill Murphy. I absolutely loved the Worst Witch books. They were like my life. So yeah, I love them.
Oh, great. Okay, we've got some really nice comments coming through from people. So John Grissom, I think, from an adult author, and then Agatha Christie as well. Some really nice people talking about Sue Townsend books as well. So that's cool. Mine at the moment is a bit of an old one, but Mick Pen, because we're reading the Kipper series at the moment. So I think mine changes, to be honest. But Julia Donaldson as well. I think we've really I really feel like her books have taken my son quite a long way. Right. You're going to laugh at me. CBeebies or milkshake?
Oh, CBeebies.
CBeebies.
Yeah, I can't get that more and more milkshake out my head sometimes. In the morning, I'm like, dropped Devon off in preschool, and I'm like, I can hear it in the car still. Favourite bedtime story? So the ones that like kids or grandkids really love to cuddle up to, they're their go-to.
Oh, do you know, when I was little, I had a Winnie the Pooh on that tape, and I absolutely loved that, to the point where I actually it was quite an obscure author reading it, and I've since looked it up on YouTube and found somebody's uploaded it, and sometimes when I'm working I just play it in the background just as a little comfort thing. I think
like a nostalgia kind of thing as well. That's nice. What about you, Sarah? Favourite?
Oh, my children love the Julia Donaldson books, so like the Gruffalo and things like that. They're really good. But we like 5 Minutes Peace and Peace at Last as well. And they are like go-to books. I think I could actually read those stories without even looking at the book, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they're really nice. I love those, Mrs. Large and Mr. Large.
Yeah.
What about you, Hayley?
The one that I immediately think of, the one that I remember when my children were just a little bit younger, reading every single night for probably about 2 years, was We're Going on a Bear Hunt. That seemed to always be a bedtime choice, and it's just there's something about it that's just perfect for that time of day. They love that.
Yeah, that is a really nice one. Even though it's like quite fast paced and it's like not actually winding them down, it's a really nice one. Devin and I at the moment are trying to introduce him more to fairy tales. So we are doing like, I literally recite Goldilocks, and he likes Three Little Pigs and Little Red Riding Hood at the moment as well. So those, I'm trying to sort of introduce him to those and explain that like nobody really gets eaten up, but you know. I like those because they're quite nice and quite short, so we can get through a couple. All right, and then just last one, cats or dogs?
Cats.
Oh, I've got both. But if I say cats, don't tell the dog.
I'm going to be controversial and say neither. Guinea pigs for me.
Yeah, or favourite pet? Sarah?
Well, we've only got fish. I joke that I have 3 children. I don't need no pets in my life. Fish are enough, really. But I prefer a cat because dogs just seem to be too energetic for me.
Yeah, no, I think dogs for me, they're just, we haven't got one, but maybe when he's a bit older and he can do some of the responsibility stuff. Okay, so we are well into it. So that's our quick fire round. Hopefully everybody's all nice and warmed up and ready to go. This is like, you know, for everybody that's attending, please feel free to ask the ladies any questions as well. Hopefully we'll be able to answer them for you. If you've got any questions for us, then please let us know. Jo, if I start with you, what's the box set that you chose? I know you've been teasing it on your social media as well, but what have you chosen? Why? And I'd just like to understand a little, like, you know, just sort of tell everybody a little bit more about what reading is like in your house and particularly your grandson.
I went for the Mr. Men stories because they've just been such a feature, it feels like, of my whole life from when I was little. So when I was born, I think the first up to Mr. Slow had already been published, but only sort of just in those last few years. So they've been like always felt like they've been in my life, and the memories of different family members reading them to me. And I said on my own Instagram when I was talking about this event, how when I was pregnant, because I was only 16 when I was pregnant for the first time, and had this like horrendous morning sickness, but every evening, and my daughter's dad would read men's stories to me, like when I felt sick, as like a comfort thing. I've just always really liked stories, and then of course, like my own children read them when they were little, and now. So my daughter B, who's baby Jerry's mum, is like, she really, really wants him to have like the whole set and to be able to carry on that tradition. So when I knew I could pick a set, that was like the obvious choice for me. They just got such a special place in my heart.
Oh, yeah, they are really nice, and I like the fact that you can get them in the kind of the collections, because it means that if they're interested in like a couple, then you know that you can kind of get onto the next ones, you know, straight away. And I think that with the Mr. Men set, children like kind of have their favourites as well, whether it's Mr. Silly or Mr. You know, yeah. They kind of like are drawn to some of the funny ones, and it's just a nice bit of fun.
I remember too when B was a baby, it was when they introduced the thing on the spine so that you could collect them and make it sort of spell out the Mr. Men on the sides, and that like I just loved buying those for her, knowing that you were building up that writing on the side and being able to afford to buy like, you know, one every couple of weeks was a real thrill.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think you're right, like having that collection and having them all there, it's one of those, it's always going to look perfect on the bookshelf, isn't it? You want to keep those, you want to keep them perfect. It's a nice one to pass down as well, or pass through siblings or generations. Yeah. What about you, Hayley? So what did you choose and why?
Well, I chose, sorry, frog in my throat. I chose the Little People Big Dreams box sets. So there's a few different ones, obviously. This one is the Inspiring Artists and Writers set. So I love these because we use them as part of our home ed, but they're just really good books anyway. When you're trying to get children interested in kind of historical, people from history, it can be so cold, and so kind of, the literature that you find on them can be just really dull, especially for younger children. So I find that these books are just absolutely ideal. They kind of, if you're not familiar with them, they tell the story of real people, from history, even some kind of more modern people. One of my favorite ones is the Dolly Parton book, because I love Dolly and I really wanted to get the kids into kind of Dolly as well. So they tell the story of the person from their childhood, kind of throughout their life, how they started out and what they became famous for and what their kind of motivation was. And I just
it's like non-fiction kind of brought to life with these lovely stories.
Yeah.
So beautiful. I don't know if you want to just take one
Yeah,
out.
I will. I'll
So
take one out.
illustrated, aren't they, as well? And like Dolly Parton's a little bit more kind of from sort of bit more sort of legacy, but there are modern women in there as well, aren't there?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is the Maya Angelou one, and the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous as well, and the stories they're kind of told in a really simple, kind of accessible way for kids. But I find that my 5-year-old is just as interested in them as my 8-year-old, and they reach everybody. And then what I like is there's a little tiny section at the back as well, which has some kind of information on the real person with actual photographs of them. My kids always look forward to that part, to see, what the person actually looked like. And yeah, they're really good for getting them interested. And I find that when we read the ones about musicians, then the children ask to kind of hear their songs, and we'll sit and go through some of their songs on YouTube afterwards. And it's just a really nice way of getting them interested. I think they are fantastic books.
Great, no, thank you. And all of the books that we're showing you, we will post all of the product codes as well for them when we post this on our IGTV, so you can grab them. And Sarah, over to you. What did you choose?
So I chose the Rainbow Magic books. So they come in a great big box set, and this is something that my older daughter had. So she had a couple of them sitting on her bookshelf, and as she was sort of going through the bookshelf, she was obviously pulling out the ones that she doesn't read anymore. So my younger daughter found these and was like, "Oh, fairies! Oh, look at these fairies!" So we only had a couple of them, but so the box set is really good, because obviously that now you get lots of different ones in there. I think there's 21 in the box set. But what we love about them is that they have, some of them are like real names. So you've got like Sophie the Fairy, but then you have ones that are a bit more like, traditional fairy names as such, like Storm, for example. So she really likes the fact that she can pick one off there and be like, "Oh, my friend at school is called such and such." So that kind of like brings the fairy, she imagines then her friends at school have become this fairy. But she's now almost 6, so we're kind of moving away from stories that we devour in one setting to chapter books. And these are really good because they are like little bite-sized chapters. So she's still engaged with the story, and obviously, if she's been, particularly good or she's very persuasive that night, I can read an extra chapter. But it's really lovely to see that she's still, the next morning she's like, "Are we going to read some more of that story today, Mummy? Are we going to read some more?" And I'm like, "Yes, we are." But it's just nice to try and get that progression from devouring it all in one go to staggering it for them. And these are a really, really good idea to do them.
They are by far one of our best sellers and have been for a long time, because they are, as you've just, you've hit the nail on the head, they're designed to keep them engaged. They're lovely little stories, and they sort of like help readers to kind of move from sort of really heavy picture books just to, like you said, to more kind of chapter books without it being too overwhelming. And it can be a lovely sort of light-hearted topic that they're still interested in. And if you've got the collection, then you can quickly move on to the next one, or they can choose. And there's all sorts of adventures and things like that they get stuck into. And they are, I know they're sort of print like fairy stories, but there is still a little bit of maturity in them as well when they go on and do their sort of, when they're on their sort of like missions and things. So I think that's that's really nice. And there's always that thing, like if your older sister's read it or something, or your older brother, then they'll want it as well. So that's really nice.
And it's great because obviously then they want to read it to her, because of course they're then getting to re-enjoy the story that they once read. So it's quite nice. I get out of story time sometimes because they want to do it.
Okay, so we've done all of our books and we know what everybody's been reading. So I think we might get our we were hoping to. Don't know if everybody heard that. There isn't anybody at the door. But we have got our one-time only voucher, so I'm quickly going to sneak that in and let people know what that is. One person can use this, so be quick. It's a £20 voucher for anything you like off our website, and the code that you need to enter at the checkout is LIVEWELL. So it's LIVEWELL, all in capitals letters, LIVE well, WELL, LIVEWELL. So be quick. I don't know who's going to use it. You've got one chance, and that's just £20 to use on the website. So I'm going to just say it one more time before we move on, and it's LIVEWELL. I hope you managed to get something. And we've just done that as a nice kind of gesture for World Mental Health Day on Sunday. Right, so we've covered all of your books. I want to ask a little bit more just around, and I don't know whether these are kind of tips or anything that we can share. I mean, you guys have already shared so much already. If anybody's got any questions as well, please feel free to pop those in. How do you choose children's books? Because, I mean, I might start off with this one, but when Devon was born, he had a library card at 6 months old. You know, we went there, and then sort of lockdown happened, and we were like, oh my God. Even now when we're choosing books, I will take him on the computer. I'm like, what do you want to have a look at? Or what kind of books what stories would you like to know more about? Or you know, whatever. I kind of try and gauge his interest. How do you choose books, and how do you get your kids involved? And why is that important? Oh, anybody? Whoever wants to go first.
And I can't imagine how difficult that's been during lockdown, because the library was such a big part of our life when they were little, because you just don't know, do you, what's going to capture their interest until they've got the book in front of them. And yeah, so kind of choosing books online rather than actually kind of touch them and read the stories must be really difficult. I think we get a lot of our books kind of passed down through the family. That's a nice way to do it, I think, a bit like with the Mr. Men, you know, and we've got masses of like old Topsy and Timber, like that. I mean,
we have those on the site. We have those
somewhere, but yeah, like all the covers are battered, and lots of them have not even got the covers left on anymore, because I used to love those when I was little. So I think like getting recommendations from within the family, or kind of things that you can hand down, is always you know, a good starting place.
Yeah, no, that's true. Some of those, it's some of those old, you know, oldies but goodies as well that are good ones. But there are a lot of new books and a lot of new authors and a lot of new books making their way, you know, certainly, you know, online and things like that. So what about you, Sarah? How do you choose, or how do your kids get involved with choosing books?
So we always tend to we've got our favourite authors, obviously, that the children will always go for, and I can almost guarantee that if they bring out a new book, that's going to be a winner for them. But for me, I just encourage everyone to write, if they bought a book and their children loved it, even if it's just one sentence as to why they love their book, if they can add that onto wherever they bought it, because actually I really do look at those, because all three of my children read very different books. So my oldest is now a teenager, so she's very much into like the teen angst and, you know, finding romance and things like that. Whereas my son is 10, and anything that is going to make him laugh is a winner. I mean, sometimes he is like rolling about on the sofa because he's loved a book so much that he is just laughing so hard.
So like, he's a big David Walliams kind of fan.
Yeah, and he really wants to share that with everyone. So then he'd be like, oh, Mum, I've got to read you this bit. Whereas my younger daughter, obviously, she wants to know more about the characters and the adventures they go on. So I just kind of, you know, the blurb that you get normally on a website is fantastic, but just that real person's point of view of, this book was so funny, or whatever, that is something that draws me in. you know, after seeing the cover, I want to see what somebody really thought of that book. So that's, for us, is the main thing.
Great. Okay. No, that's really helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right there. What about you, Hayley? How do you choose books? Because obviously you're homeschooling as well, so you've got quite a lot in terms of resources as well. So maybe you want to answer from more of a non-fiction perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Very similar to Sarah. The reviews, I really do read the reviews, whether that's on websites where I'm buying the book, or whether it's you know, book bloggers, things like that. I read reviews a lot. If there's a book I'm interested in, I would usually Google it first to try to find some reviews about it. I also follow quite a lot of people on Instagram who tend to share kind of home ed resources, books and things like that. So quite often the books that I buy will come from recommendations that I've seen on Instagram as well. And also the children, like you say, we really have kind of missed the library. That I don't think anything can replace being able to go to the library and actually look through the books yourself and look at the covers, and you know, there's no replacement for that at all. But a lot of the, like for example, the Little People Big Dreams ones have a section at the back that kind of list all of the other titles in the range. So my children will quite often point out in that the next ones that they want to read from that range, which is really handy. So
yeah, Devin does that. He'll go like, especially like the Julia Donald ones, for example, at the end, and they've got haven't got that one yet. Haven't got that one. No. Haven't got that one. Haven't got that one. Haven't got that one. But it is nice because then it's nice because then they, you know, then they're interested and they want to build up that collection. And I'm trying to teach him as well. Even, you know, I know he's only 3, but I'm trying to teach him more to have books more as collections and sets rather than, I mean, there are some lovely sort of single items, but it's so nice. Like we've just got the I got him the Kipper book collection, and there's always like the original one that's going to be my favourite, and I want it to be his favourite, but he'll probably like one of the other ones, which is fine. It's the same with Percy the Park Keeper, you know, it's the original one that's going to be the best, but it's so nice to have the whole collection and kind of like jump in between those. So I think that when you trust if it's either a book that you know that you've grown up with in your childhood, or it's a recommendation, I think that once you're sold on the first one, you know, you can quite easily then go and get the whole set, and you'll feel like, you know, that was a great buy, or that was a good purchase.
Definitely.
Cool. And what about reading kind of routines then, and driving sort of conversations? Because that's something, and again, I know, you know, Devin, he's still only young, but I do try and bring conversations into it, and I sort of ask, you know, encourage him to ask questions, you know, why is she doing that, or what's happening there. I'll start with you, Hayley, or, you know, going backwards. So how do you use books to drive conversations, and your routine is quite different, isn't it? Because obviously you are, you know, you're home educating. So how do books fit into your routine, I suppose, and what kind of funny questions do they come out with? All sorts, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's part of our routine kind of every day. The most important thing for me when the kids were little was that they saw me reading quite a lot, because anything that you do as a parent, they naturally want to mimic it, don't they? It doesn't really matter what it is. So you know, they saw that I was often kind of reading. I always read kind of in bed of a night, and they picked up on that. So then they wanted to start doing that. And even my youngest son, who can't read by himself yet, he still gets into bed every night with his book and flicks through and looks at the pictures and makes his own story up for what's going on. Or if it's one like a Julia Donaldson one that we've read a lot and he kind of remembers it himself, he'll kind of sit and read it to himself. So yeah, and my eldest son, he was actually a self-taught reader, which was really interesting, because to begin with, he absolutely hated reading, really didn't like it at all. And I was really upset about that, because I wanted him to love books. Like, books were my whole childhood, so I couldn't imagine a childhood without books. And I was really worried about that, but I kind of left him alone, and he came to it in his own time. And now it's hard to get the books off him at bedtime. He doesn't want to put them down. So yeah, it's a massive part of our day, kind of every single day. And with regards to kind of using how we kind of use books and, you know, have conversations around them, I'm really big on using books to kind of springboard bigger conversations. So I'm really into kind of finding books that are about kind of equality and diversity and kind of big topics. I just think that they're such an ideal way of getting, you know, reaching children on their level to discuss a kind of wider subject. So I'm really a fan of that kind of thing, and the children really respond really well to it as well.
Yeah, I think books, you're right, books can be a great way to educate in that sort of way, and it's not like too overwhelming. So even, I mean, we were just looking the other day with sort of all the talk about climate change. There's going to be quite a lot, you know, there's some books definitely that we've got already about kind of science, volcanoes and things like that as collections that would be really nice as a way for parents to teach children about climate change without it being too sort of intense, because they're still quite young, but it is very topical at the moment, and they're the future, aren't they? So they do need to know about it. Okay, great. And over to you then, Sarah. So how are books part of your routine and your child's routine, and what kind of funny questions do they ask?
So we are very much a technology household. So we have Alexa alarms set for, well, I think everything really. So we have one that goes off at a certain time every night to let them know that they need to stop whatever they're doing to go and do their bedtime jobs. So they go and, you know, get changed, have their teeth brushed and everything else. And then that's when we time to pick up a book. So then we dedicate 30 minutes every night before they go to bed for reading. So whether we're reading together or we're all, you know, cuddled up on the sofa, each reading our own little books and things like that. Because, you know, although they've maybe read, you know, a few pages of their school books, I want them to know that reading for pleasure is a big thing. You know, I don't want, you know, whilst I understand the need for school books, you know, that increases their vocabulary as well as, you know, the subjects that they're reading. And I want them to be able to pick up a book and enjoy it for themselves. They want to pick up that book. So they literally have free reign. They can pick up anything they want. Obviously, as we get closer to Christmas, they tend to be more the Christmas stories and things like that. So yeah, it's just, I think it's just so important that they have free choice as well, you know, because everything is dictated to in life when they're little, bless their hearts, you know, from, you know, you've got to do this and you've got to make sure you've spellings and things like that. Just being able to pick up a book that's going to make them laugh or whatever.
A bit of an escape, really, as well.
Yeah,
Books do have escapism from a young age, don't they? As well as being able to relate to them. So no, that's nice. I really like that Alexa tip. I might have to nick that. And what about for you, Jo? What can you tell us? Just last question.
I think a bit like, you know, Hayley is saying about using books as a way to introduce kind of bigger external topics. I think I tend to use books as a way to think about more internal things. So I know, like, personally, if I'm going through something, my first instinct is, I want a book about that. You know, like, I want a book where the character's going through the same thing, that I can relate to it, and I will know that I'm not the only person feeling that. And I think with children, it can be a nice way to kind of introduce talking about difficult family situations, whether it's like, you know, parents going through a divorce or a new sibling, or, you know, something that, you know, they're worried about and perhaps they're hesitant to talk about. You know, you can introduce a book where their character has that same experience, and it's like a gentle way to get them talking about it with focus away from them a little bit. So I think that's probably like one of the ways that I've used books with my children over the years, for sure, and continue to use them with me.
Yeah, no, I think you've all had some really, you know, fantastic answers there, and really kind of varied, and it's nice to see everybody's different approach. We are coming to the end now, so I think a couple of people have commented to say that the code's invalid. That probably means it's been used up. So it was quick, and it was just for one person, so that code's probably been used. Don't forget though, once we post this video, just shortly after we close this, then 3 people will win one of each of the box sets that we've featured today. So thank you, ladies, very much. Before we end, have you got any questions for me? I know I've asked you lots and lots of questions, but if you've got any questions for me, and if anybody else has got any questions while you're still joining us, please let us know, and we'll try and answer them. So anything?
I'd love to know, you know, like a desert island style, if you could take one book to a desert island, do you have like one book you always go back to, that you always reread? For inspiration, I've got this, I always read every single Christmas, I read A Red Bird Christmas by Fanny Flagg. It's like, if you've not read it, absolute must. It's beautiful. It's like
Oh.
everything wonderful about Christmas and community. And so I just wondered if you've got like that one book.
Gosh, that's a really tough one. I'm actually, sometimes when I like to just switch off and not have my mum hat on and I just want to read something really sort of, you know, I'm a big fan of Sophie Kinsella and her books.
Nice.
They're just really like fun. I don't have to think about it. They're just a pleasure to read. I've taken them on holiday. I've been the shopaholic. I've done all of that, and it's just like it's just a bit of me time. I also do like books by Marion Keyes as well. So that's just me just having a moment. Most recently as well, the Unmumsy Mum, because I do 100 things wrong all the time. So they're not kind of like, you know, by no means are they self-help books, but they're just, it's still about mums or women and stuff like that, but it's just a little bit, you know, take some of the pressure off. But I did, you know, at the same time I read Michelle Obama's book as well, and I thought that was fantastic. We've got a copy of it here, so I read that too. So you know, a mix, but for me it's sometimes just about switching off and having a bit of a laugh myself as well. Otherwise me and Devon take it in turns to be the Gruffalo. To be honest. Right, so right, we better let you go and carry on with your days. So thank you so much. We've got some really nice comments from people say thank you, I've really enjoyed it, and your feedback as well, just in terms of like how you kind of have books in your life and how important reading is really refreshing. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, have a nice weekend. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.